the economy only grew by 4%. In other words, we're growing the money in this economy 8 times faster than the stuff that money buys. That doesn't make us richer. Money is simply the technology by which we transfer value over space and time. And that's why Ted Falk was one of the first to warn in Canada's Finance Committee that we'd have inflation when they started creating cash. He knew, like we all know, that this is an old experiment that's done again and again with the same results. When kings, queens, presidents, prime ministers create cash to fund their sumptuous spending, they do not make us richer. They only make everything more expensive. If you have an economy with $10 and 10 apples, that's $1 an apple. If you double the number of dollars to 20, but you still only have 10 apples, you're not twice as rich. It's just each apple costs twice as much. That's what happens when you create cash. It's just inflation, And now they want to go forward and push another deficit on our people, which drives up the cost of borrowing, as many people are worried about losing their homes. That's why we need a common sense plan to balance the budget. And this is it. We'll bring in a dollar-for-dollar law requiring the government find $1 savings for every new dollar of spending so that we can discipline the state. We'll cut waste and mismanagement, like getting rid of the $35 billion infrastructure bank that hasn't completed a single infrastructure project, the $1 billion so-called green fund that has not actually done any green technology but has misappropriated 15% of its budget to liberal and bureaucratic insiders. We'll get rid of the $60 million Arrive scam app. You believe this app? It was supposed to cost 80 grand, and yet your local NDP and Liberal federal MPs voted to give it 60 million. You think the NDP members of Parliament would ask some questions if there was an $80,000 app and Justin Trudeau came to them and said, I need your vote to spend $60 million on it. But they didn't. They stood up. Manitoba NDP members of Parliament voted to raise the cost to Manitobans by funding this ridiculous app. Let's get their names here. Who are they? Who are they? I don't even know who they are. Who do we have here? Who are they? Somebody's supposed to give me a list. They're not recognizable. I don't really notice them. They kind of fade into the wallpaper. Ted, do you know who they are? Who are they? Nikki Ashton, Leah Gazan. Who else? Daniel Blakey. What have they been doing for you? Voting to hike your taxes. Here I do have them. Nikki Ashton, Daniel Blakey, Leah Gazan, they voted to give $60 million to the Arrive Can app. They're voting to hike your carbon tax. I understand there's even a by-election coming up in Winnipeg, Transcona, right? What's that? Elmwood, Transcona. So people in this community are going to be able to decide whether they want a member of the costly coalition that will vote to hike your tax, take your money, punish your work, double your housing costs, or whether you're ready to have a member of Parliament who will vote to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. You need a strong, independent voice on Parliament Hill who will do that and will stand up to eliminate the wasteful spending so that we can balance the budget and bring down inflation and interest rates and income tax so that you bring home more of each dollar you earn and hard work actually pays off. But to bring it home, you need to have a home in a safe neighborhood. And after 8 years of Trudeau and the NDP, people are scared to walk outside of their homes. We have a 100% increase in gang killings. The number of gun crimes has gone up by over 100%. And now we learn that Trudeau and the NDP spent, because of good work exposed by our very own Senator Plett from Manitoba, they've spent $40 million on this gun grab, and they haven't even succeeded in buying a single gun back from Canadians. Isn't this insane? They're going after licensed, law-abiding, trained and tested firearms owners who are vetted by the RCMP. The least likely people to commit a crime are being singled out for abuse and harassment by their very own government. and at great expense. Common sense conservatives will reverse the gun grab and respect the rights of law-abiding hunters and sport shooters. And will use the billions of dollars that saves to reinforce our borders and our ports. 80% of the gun crime is guns brought in illegally from the United States of America. The car theft is the result of ports that are unsecured. Right now, we inspect 1% of the shipping containers that come in and go out. There are only 5 inspectors for 500,000 containers at the Port of Montreal. One guy who came and saw me from Brampton told me that he put a air tag in his car because he knew his car would be stolen, given that he lives in Brampton, and he wanted to be able to track it. Sure enough, he woke up a few weeks later, walked out the front door to go to work, and no car in the driveway. So he opened up his app and he said, oh look, my car is somewhere on the train line between Toronto and Montreal. It's headed to Montreal where the criminals are going to put it on a ship. So he called the police in Montreal. They said, we don't have jurisdiction. Then he called the port. They said, sorry, we don't have the resources to look into it. So he got in his car and he drove to Montreal. He got there about the same time as the shipping container. He jumped over the fence and walked up to the dot that was on his phone. And he said to himself, that shipping container looks like the dot on my phone. That's where my car is. CBSA came running over to him. Apparently they had officials to run up to this guy. They said, what are you doing here? He said, oh, I'm just trying to get my car back. It was stolen. It's in that box up there. I thank God you're here. Maybe you can help me. They said, no, we're not going to help you. We're giving you a fine for being illegally on this property. So he says, well, at least I'll pay the fine, but can I just have my car back? He says, sorry, we don't have the resources. We're just going to have to let it go. So the train rolled up to the ship, and a big hand came down and picked up that container and put it on the ship, and it went off into the Atlantic to be sold off to terrorists and other gangsters in the Middle East, in Europe, or in Africa. And so we have one car stolen every 40 minutes, and the Liberals and NDP solution to that is to ban Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle and to give house arrest to career car thieves. House arrest, so that they can sit there watching Netflix in their living room or playing Grand Theft Auto while they technically do their sentence. Common sense conservatives are going to get rid of house arrest, parole, and bail for repeat offenders. It will be jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. And we're going to rescue our loved ones from the horrendous scourge of this drug addiction crisis. After we've had 40,000 of our loved ones die, after corrupt big pharma companies pushed these pharmaceuticals onto North American families, lying, saying that the drugs were non-addictive and non-lethal. They called it OxyContin. They made a fortune. They even paid their distributors bonuses for every overdose death they caused. And yet, they made a grand fortune. And now that we have this opioid crisis, what is the solution that the NDP and Liberals put forward? They call it safe supply. What are they giving out as a safe supply? Oh, right, pharmaceutical opioids bought from the same corrupt pharmaceutical companies that caused the crisis in the first place. My common sense plan is to stop giving out free drugs, end the decriminalization of crack and other hard drugs, and instead put the money into recovery and treatment so that we can bring our loved ones home drug-free. We'll model it after the great success of the Oak Center right here in Winnipeg. What a beautiful center, created by a father who lost a son. And there, young men can go get detox, counseling, group therapy, sweat lodges for First Nations, yoga, physical exercise, job preparation. As they come out of the program, they are able to go into a neighboring housing complex in the future where they will transition back, but can always come in for another counseling session, a workout, or maybe to even mentor an incoming addict. This is the hopeful future. My message to anyone who's suffering from addiction is that you are not alone. We as conservatives will be with you. We will be by your side until you well, because our country and your family needs you. And I said that we have a dollar for dollar law, right? So I'll tell you how we're going to pay for it. We are going to sue those corrupt pharmaceutical companies and make them pay. It's about bringing home our freedom. We want to make this the freest country on earth. All that we have, all that is special about Canada is the result of that freedom. You know, there's nothing special about the air we breathe or the water we drink that has made Canada such an incredible country. We're the same people as the rest of the world. In fact, we're a reflection of the rest of the world because our people come from all over the world. So why has Canada been such a wonderful place to live up until quite recently? The answer is that we had freedom, that we let people run their own lives. The government was the servant, and the people were the master. And along came a guy who said he admires China's basic communist dictatorship. He admires the great, in his words, the great revolutionary leader Fidel Castro. He wanted to censor what you said online. He seized the bank accounts of law-abiding people who were trying to speak up for their freedom. Now he's got this law where he wants to be able to put you under house arrest, not just for something you've said, but for something you might say in the future. Can you imagine that? This is beyond Orwellian. He, actually, speaking of Orwell, I think he'd read 1984 and he thought it was an instruction manual rather than a warning. But common sense conservatives take a different approach. We understand that the people are the master, that we should have the maximum amount of freedom. And that's why I will repeal the censorship law C-11 and let you speak freely. There will be no central bank digital currency. There will be no mandatory digital ID. We will ban all the federal COVID mandates. And we will ban all of my ministers and MPs from any involvement in the World Economic Forum. We will ban the terrorist group, the pieerre3GH035291, and kick out its 700 agents from our country. And recognize that the guarantors of our freedom are the brave men and women in uniform. We will cut back on foreign aid to terrorist dictators and international bureaucracies and put the money into rebuilding our military. This is about putting people back in charge of their lives. The people have been made to feel small, that they are not able to make their own decisions and run their own lives. We're told that we need to listen to the so-called experts, the people that helped Justin Trudeau make the mess in the first place. These people look down from above in their ivory towers and say that we can't trust the ordinary people. The ordinary people. Well, I've spent the last 3 years traveling the country, shaking hands and meeting with these so-called ordinary people. And let me tell you, my friends, there's nothing ordinary about them. They are extraordinary. The waitress who balances 8 plates on a tray and serves 15 tough customers at a time, works a back-to-back shift, then comes home to teach her kid math and balances her budget on a minimum wage salary is not ordinary. She is extraordinary, my friend. The farmers who harvest the crops of Manitoba, who master the sciences of sky and soil to bring food from their fields to our forks are not ordinary, they are extraordinary. The electricians who capture lightning from the sky, run it through a copper wire, required to illuminate this room and light up this world are not ordinary. They too are extraordinary. The soldiers, sailors, and airmen that leave their families behind to defend us in a dangerous world, who know the discipline, the hard work, and the courage to stare down any fear. These are not ordinary people, they are extraordinary. And therein is the philosophical difference. I believe that you, the extraordinary people, have the wisdom and the virtue to make your own decisions, to run your own lives, to spend your own money. In Canada, the freest country in the world, led by the common sense of the common people, united for our common home. Your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home. Thank you.